How you doing, Anna?
Hey Daz, that was lovely. That was really good.
I'm glad you enjoyed. I'm going to start with an apology to Anna. Anna, I didn't get time to look at your email and review what you sent me, simply because I went to the gym straight after work, then I had to get Jules, and I just ran out of time. I was running round as it was, so I'm really sorry. We're going to have to do it all vocally. Is that okay with you?
It's absolutely fine. All I'd sent you, so I can just say it because everyone will know what I'm talking about. So I sent you some images of Ceridwen, but Ceridwen looks like the very quintessential old witch with a cauldron.
Right, I'll
So
tell you what
if
I'll
you
do
can,
then.
go on.
Sorry, Anna, didn't mean to interrupt. What I'll do, guys, is after the live, I'll collate those images and we'll put them in a video with some music and I'll put them on the normal feed. Before Anna starts her chat, let me set up the screen recorder again. And you're okay with that being recorded, Anna?
Yeah, there's some friends who want to see it, so that's brilliant. Thank
I'm
you.
going to apologise in advance because I've never screen recorded before and I don't know where the hell I've just dropped that file. It said favourites somewhere, so I hope I don't lose it. I'll try not to. So just bear with me while I set that up if you don't mind.
Yep.
And guys, as ever, please feel free to gift Anna as she speaks. She's given us her time for free. There's never any pressure. You pay for your subscriptions. And Anna's doing this freely. But if you do want to gift it, obviously, that would be a nice thing to do. But I will never pressurise anyone. Bear with me. And I'll sort this bloomin' screen recorder out. Where are you? Right, we're now recording, so I'm going to hand you over to Anna, who is going to introduce her subject, and then she is going to talk about it. Anna, if you want to pause about halfway through, and we can maybe take questions if you like.
Yep.
Over to you, sweet. We are recording, so anyone that wants to see this, hopefully we'll be able to get it to your friends. So I'll shut my gob now, and it's over to you.
Okay, so I'm part of the Temple of Ceridwen in Avalon, although I live in Yorkshire. I'm training under them to work with the goddess Ceridwen. So Daz wanted me to come on and just tell you a little bit about the goddess Ceridwen. So you probably mostly know that a lot of us, our ancestors, will come from the ancient Britons who were the Celts, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, that they were all over the British Isles. And their priests and wise people, you probably have heard of druids. What you may not know is that there were different factions of the druids. So you had the bards, the ovates, and the druids. So the druids were the priests. The ovates were the kind of fortune tellers, the people who would be telling the future or making decisions based on the weather and things like that. And the bards, who were the storytellers and musicians. So they never wrote anything down, and it was the bards' jobs to learn all these stories by heart, and they would go out into the towns and villages and into the pubs and play their songs and tell the stories. The hard facts we know historically about the Druids were written down by Christian monks and Romans. The Druids never wrote anything down. So that's all we have to go on, really, is the odd bit that they wrote down. So, yeah, in the style of the bards, I'm going to tell you a story about Ceridwen. So Ceridwen is a Welsh goddess. She's not Welsh because the Celts weren't Welsh. We think now that they may have come over from India. She died in Wales. So she ended up in Wales and she's known as the Welsh goddess. You can go to Bala, Lake Bala in North Wales, and you can visit her because that's where she ended her human life. So Ceridwen lived in Bala with her husband Tegid. He was a very strong warrior type man, a protector, a real family man. and he took care of business while she stayed at home with their 2 children. She had 2 children. One was called, I think you say Creevy. She was this beautiful, angelic little blonde baby, absolutely stunning. As she grew older, everyone would say how beautiful she was. She also had a son called Marvran. Marvran, unfortunately, was the exact opposite of Creevy. So he was known as ugly, monstrous, deformed, and obviously Ceridwen loved her son very, very much. She was fearful for him. She didn't know what was going to happen as he grew up. He would be laughed at by other children. He would be mocked. So because she was part goddess, she came up with this plan. She found a boy and his father, a boy called Gwion back and his father. She enlisted them to stay for a year around a cauldron that she created. She made the cauldron and she put magical ingredients into the cauldron. She enlisted them for a year. She gave them food and board in exchange for stirring the cauldron, because obviously she's a mother. She can't spend all day and night stirring a cauldron. So she enlists Gwion back to do that for her. With the reason for that was she was creating a magic potion. It was a one-use potion called the Arwen. The liquid was called the Arwen. And when the time came, 3 drops of the Arwen would be drunk by her son Morfran. And if he can't be beautiful and he can't be attractive like his sister, then she would bestow upon him inspiration and knowledge. So this was a magical potion that would make her elevate her son in her eyes into something magical and wonderful. So the year went on and Gwion was stirring and stirring, and it came to the day when the potion was almost ready, and Ceridwen was waiting and waiting, and the day came, and all of a sudden she was called away. As she was called away, the cauldron began to bubble. Out of the cauldron sprang 3 drops of Arwen, and they hit Gwion on the thumb, and they burnt Gwion's thumb. So what did Gwion do? Put his thumb in his mouth to suck where he had burnt his thumb. So he took in the 3 drops of Arwen. Ceridwen was incensely angry. She raced to the cauldron. She was so angry. That was meant for her son. Her son's life was ruined now, as far as she was concerned. She'd invested all this time and energy into helping her son, and that was gone. You can't imagine how angry she was. She raced down to the cauldron, but it was too late. Gwion had already taken into himself the Arwen. Because he'd taken it into himself, he was bestowed with the gift of knowledge and inspiration. And because he had that, he learned to shapeshift. So he learned that he could shapeshift, and he shapeshifted into a hare. And he ran away from Ceridwen. She immediately, because she's a goddess and she can do this, changed into a greyhound, and she chased him. And this represents the element of fire, because she's so angry. She's so angry she would kill him in a heartbeat. She's that angry. So the greyhound chases the hare. So the hare, he changes into a salmon, and he dives into the water deep, deep down. When he becomes a salmon, he learns about the subconscious, and he learns about the shadow and the fear that's in everyone. And that represents the element of water. So then Ceridwen quickly changes into an otter, and she dives down in the water to get him. So then Gwion quickly turns into a wren, and he flies up, 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 away from Ceridwen. This represents the element of air. So he learns cunning and strategy, because she becomes a hawk. So she's darting through the sky, and he's using cunning and strategy to escape her. And she nearly catches him, and he falls to the ground and into a sack of grain and becomes a piece of grain. So Ceridwen's so angry now, she turns herself into a black hen. This represents the element of earth, because the seed is in the earth. So as a black hen, she runs over to the bag of grain and eats it all up, including Gwion back. So she kills Gwion, but his seed goes into her. And she realises the seed has made her pregnant. So she hates Gwion, but at the same time, she is pregnant with her child, who is born the famous bard Taliesin, who she loves beyond measure. So Taliesin is very, very famous in all of the things that were written about King Arthur. He went on to go into battle and go into adventures with King Arthur. So a lot was written about him. Again, what we know about these stories was written by men. So a lot of the focus is on Taliesin and King Arthur and all the kind of fighting and fun stuff that they did. But what we do in the Temple of Ceridwen is try and look at the female aspect of it as well. So she becomes pregnant and she gives birth to the wonderful Taliesin, who goes on to do wonderful things because he is part god. The other interesting thing, and that is the story of Taliesin, that is how he's born. But the other interesting thing about the story, the bards were always trying to teach us a lesson. So as with all good stories, there is a lesson. If you take the journey and the chase between Gwion Bach and Ceridwen, what it tells you is that we too can do that. So we too can become like the hare. We can learn to shapeshift, and it doesn't mean physically turn into a hare, but you can become someone else. You can always change. You can always change your view on things like that. We can also learn to work with our shadow and work with our fear and face our fears, as Gwion did when he became the salmon. We can also then use that knowledge to further our intellect and further how we step out into the world, like Gwion did as the wren. And then it will bring us closer to the earth. It will ground us and it will bring us closer to the goddess, as Gwion became when he became the grain. So that is the story of Ceridwen. And the other really interesting part that I absolutely love is that her other son, who she believed had no hope, there was no hope left for him, he actually grew up to be an amazing, magical person in his own right. So his story is that he's so dark that he can go into battle and cast his cloak across an entire battle, and it will make all of the fighters blind, so no one will be able to fight. So even though he is the darkest of dark figures, he creates peace. So I just love that. I love that he ended up being just a fantastic person as well, and he's probably one of my favourite characters. I have got a poem to read, but if you want to do the comments first, and then I'll do the poem if you like.
I never knew about the Lake Bala aspect. I've driven past that many times. I never had the opportunity to stop there, but I know it's an amazing lake, and there's lots of people do water sports there and stuff. An amazing place. I think I probably parked by the side of it a time or two. But speaking of hares, I saw something really interesting last night. We were driving home. We'd been to the bank house, Lindsay's bank house, and we were driving home. And one of the ways I go home is via a country lane. And there was a car on the opposite side of the road, and it was getting really slow. I thought, what's going on here? Why is it getting so? There was a hare running in front of the car, and he kept jinking in a zigzag, but he wouldn't get out the road. And he was like, and it was fascinating. This hare was just, so scared. He was running, and it just felt, whenever I see a hare, I just feel, it feels mystical to me, because normally just see the tops of their ears running in the field, don't you?
So what has been seen down south at the moment is a white stag. There's been a photograph of a white stag. Now in Celtic folklore, that means that when a white stag is seen, we have to be careful where we are treading. And it was around the time of the riots. So people in these circles were saying, if we aren't careful and we allow this to escalate, this is our warning. It's going to be trouble.
And
So
as
yeah,
you
it's
say,
really interesting.
all hatred, and I believe a lot of hatred drives that, but hatred is created by fear, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
And your story's, like you say, is partly about fear, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's about you can face fear and you can, instead of allowing it to take you over.
Gotcha. Anyone got any specific questions for Anna reads a poem?
I don't know if you know the actor Adam Driver. He played the young Darth Vader in the new movies.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I want them to do a film, and he is going to be Morvran in my mind. He's going to be the one that's the dark entity that casts his cloak over the battles.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that all of those hundreds and even thousands of years ago, stories were being told about dark and light? And you look at Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, and basically they're just a tale of the dark and the light, aren't they?
Well, everything goes back to the same place. All of the Eastern mysticism and everything, it all came from an original source. Like, Ceridwen gives birth to Taliesin without a father. So it's like a divine birth. It's very similar to the Jesus in the Bible, Mary and Jesus story. They're all tales that go back, the interlink.
Fab. Right, we'd love to hear your poem anyway, whenever you're ready.
It's not my poem, it's a poem, but I didn't write it. It's
Gotcha.
called Ceridwen and Taliesin, and it's by a famous singer called Dam the Bard, and it's a song, so you can look it up on YouTube if you want to, but the words are beautiful. So I'll just read it. Silver moonlight dances from the mist of Tegid's shore. A lady looks upon her son like many times before, and she touches his face, fingers wet with tears falling. Her daughter stands behind her, the fairest in the land. How her son became so cursed, she cannot understand. But this mother's love is strong, as her heart is beating, and she calls to the earth, and the earth hears her calling. High up in the mountains, Dinas Acheron stands tall. All magic and mysteries are held within these walls. So she walks to the door, and as she does, the door opens. Teach me the mystery of the cauldron's brew. Let utter darkness give way to light and reborn anew. When the Arwen will shine from the brow of the eagle of the sea, and all will know his name from this land to the people of the city. The lady sets the cauldron fire tended by the hand of Gwyonbach the innocent and Morda the blind man, who reached out his hand. Place more wood, keep the cauldron boiling. Then Morda he fell asleep, alas he didn't see. Wood upon wood was added, the inferno was the key, to unlock the door of the Arwen's great mystery. 3 drops burning skin, and it was Gwion who gained the power to see. I shall be a running hare, with sorrow and with mickle care. Then I shall be a greyhound bitch, and tear you from your skin. And I shall be a flying wren, the king of birds, the king of men. Then I shall be a falcon grey, and tear you from your skin. Then I shall be a salmon sleek, darting through a shallow creek. Then I shall be an otter bitch, and wrest you from your skin. And I shall be the grain beneath the sun, and you will never know which one. Then I shall be the black hen, and take you deep within. Now you may be forgiven to think my tale is over and down, but 9 moons later she gave birth to a son, that she wanted to kill, but she placed him in a coracle on the sea. Garanea's salmon weir, a catch was guaranteed, but on this day baby boy cried out to be freed. A radiant brow shining down for all to see. Taliesin is your name, the greatest bard that this land will ever see. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much. That was brilliant.
So that's Ceridwen and Taliesin by Dan the Bard, if anyone
You're a
wants to look it up.
fantastic narrator.
Trying to keep the Yorkshire accent more neutral.
It's absolutely fine. Thank you ever so much. That was great.
No worries.
You'll have to come back again and give us another story.